Hello everybody, been almost 3 months since the last video, but I've been busy. So if you remember, on the 1st of January I released a video about the joystick on the Oric, and I managed to find the actual official Oric joystick, which is advertised with surefire technology. In practice it is not very good, but I mean it is red on black and it will go nicely with the rest of your Oric stuff. It has 2 buttons, one on the left, one on the top. There are not a single micro switch, so it's not very comfortable to use, but it has the typical quickshot style suckers, so you can use it with one hand on the table and it will work. I also, on a recommendation of François, got myself the Philips D6260, which is a nice thematically colored drive. If you buy one, it's basically unusable if you don't replace the gears, because they are very fragile and they are going to be basically dead on arrival. And there is a high probability that it's not going to load the tapes properly. So first thing to do, buy replacement gears if you want one. But yeah, it's very pretty. I also managed to get myself the official Oric RS232 interface. That one has been hacked by a previous owner, so this is not part of it. I will make a video about the whole thing. And most importantly, the Oric V23 modem. That one is a British model. I had to replace the connector. You can see that with a British Telecom socket connector. It has Prestel, TX and RX mode, and I've been trying to connect to an actual Prestel server without much success. We are not quite sure if the problem is with the RS232 interface or with my VoIP adapter, so I'm going to do some more tests by changing my power supply, measuring the levels and things, and if it works I'm going to make a video. But today's topic is not this. I just thought it would be cool that you see that there are some new things. The topic is Oric books, which are not there. Follow me. Here they are. I already showed you some things previously in some other episode, like Hebdo, a French magazine, a generic magazine, which had some articles about the Oric, in this case the Telestrat. These Eastern European magazines from various countries. These ones are from the country of the Oric Nova 64, which I have a manual here. From Ljubljana. Sorry for the pronunciation. I had an entire episode just about Oric, so I'm not going to go further, but as you can see it goes from April 84 to that one 86, but I have some more episodes, some more issues. So yeah. So what else do we have? Well, the thing is, there are actually quite many more. Back in 1997, on the first version of the Defense Force website, there is the first version of the Oric Library. So 97, if you remember, is a period where we were connecting with dial-up modem, and where it was a common practice to use GIF files instead of JPEG because they were actually smaller, and it was almost impossible to have decent scanners. So basically the Oric library was pretty much only small resolution screenshots, like 200 by 300 pixels. And there were no content at all, except a few exceptions, like we had the shitty scan with OCR of the microdisc on Cedric DOS, and also the Oric manual. But that's about it. And 2-3 years ago I started doing the revamping of the Defense Force website, and it was time to do the Oric Library, so we started anew with fully rewritten code and with a search box instead of static pages, etc. And this includes a statistics page. So as of today, we have 477 entries, that includes books, magazines, and manuals, from 13 countries. So 280 from England, 149 from France, 16 from Germany, then we have Norway, Denmark, and then Spain, and Eastern Europe, and one from Sweden, which I hope we can get in good quality. And out of these, 74% are available for download. Mostly magazines. We unfortunately have only 1/3 of the books. But there's been a bunch of people helping me, so thanks a lot. Anyone who helped providing either a new reference, some missing information like ISBN, or correct a typo in the name of authors or bad publisher, or a fully usable PDF got added to the contributor list. So please just go through the list and check if we are missing things. And here you have the list per year. So 78, 79, 80 don't really count because they are not really Oric books. They are what I call generic books, like Rodnezak's Programming 6502, which is a CPU in the Oric, but it's not an Oric book. And same thing, the Lance Leventhal 6502 assembly language programming, very big generic book. Still useful as a reference, but it's not an Oric book. But that's pretty much the only one which are not. Everything else is purely Oric. We have not even added the semi-generic books, like, for example, that one, Personal Software. I'm going to put it because this is a special issue with only Oric content, on listing, something like that. But Personal Software was not dedicated to the Oric. So this is the first pass we've done on the library, where we only put all the Oric, pure Oric stuff, but at some point we are going to add everything which is relevant to Oric users. Like, for example, this thing, which was a small leaflet magazine from a company selling Oric computers. It's interesting for historical purpose, like you have the price and the review of the Commodore 64, VIC-20, Sinclair Spectrum, Thomson, and you have the Oric there. So you can see these things in the context of what was sold at which price at the same period of time. So all these things are relevant, so they will be there, but they are not there yet. Another topic of discussion has been manuals. Everybody will agree that having fully searchable, usable Oric DOS manual, or the Oric One basic programming, or the French version, or the two versions of the Oric Atmos manual, French and English, are important to have. And that having the user manual of the Oric MCP40 color printer with how to plug it and things like that is relevant as well. Now, what about this? So, there are user manuals for software. So technically, it's the same thing as a small inlay you have in the tape of, let's say, Xenon 1. The main difference is they are longer, they are relatively complicated software to use, and it's very hard to find them because they don't fit with the tape. They are much bigger. So very often they got lost. So I'm putting the limit there. So all these big-ish, serious software manuals, they are there, or they are going to be added. That includes things like this specially made Sedoric version of Lorrygraph user manual, because it's relevant if people want to find the software and want to use it. We also have all these things. The developer manual of the Telestrat by Fabric Bosch. So technically it's a programming documentation, how to program the Telestrat. It's all in French. It was made for developers, so they could write Oric software. So that one is developing on Telestrat. That one is Teleas symbolic assembler. So most of the thing was like printed on dot matrix, so not awesome. How to use Telemon. Lot of disassembly. So these things, you find them, they are going to be on the library as well. Then we have all the manuals which are not original, like manual of the Nova 64, which is interesting because it's in the 4 official language of the country at the time. Which, by the way, I have no idea how I will be able to find the OCR software, which is going to be able to make searchable text working in 4 different languages. So that's going to be a challenge. And the pendant of that one is the Pravetz 8D user manual, which I don't think is available at the moment, but since it's 100% Oric Atmos compatible, it deserves to be there. And I'm mentioning that because recently there's been discussion about the Tangerine Microtan 65. Technically it's a grandfather of the Oric one, but it's not compatible at all from software point of view. I mean, it's as much as an Oric as an Apple II would be. So Microtan 65, no, it's mentioned in the history book, Oric, the story so far, but it's not going to be in the library, so don't count on it. Then we have a lot of other books, like these things. I've not found any in English. It looks like hardware hacking and making books about it was a French specialty. It's basically how to make electronic things and communicating, making your own interface, yeah, learning electronics. So a lot of things. That one is especially about doing ham radio and things like that. Following satellites. You have a lot of schematics, including the one from the Oric itself. That it's about programming the sound. We also have these things like how to program Oric in assembler. Oric on its microprocessor, the assembler of Oric One and Atmos, programming in machine code. Bruce Smith, so the British, on Ian Sinclair, Oric and Atmos machine code. So yeah, most of these are now available, or getting made available. But it takes a lot of time, and not everybody has decent scanners. I've been doing my part with this thing, but even with it, it's not mine by the way, even with this, it still takes quite a lot of time. This book was not bad, but it's using a syntax of 6502, which is very disturbing, and most addresses are in decimal, which makes it... I will not recommend it to people these days, because you will learn a syntax that nobody else is using anymore, so please avoid it. But the concepts are still valid. That one has been suffering a bit. It's one of these many books which had broken spine. And many of these have a ROM disassembly with commands, which is also something we find in what I call the advanced books. These things are basically what you use when you get your diploma in advanced Oric programming. That's where you get all the tricks about how to use the VIA during a special display mode, how to access the sound chip, file format of the tape, so if you want to do hacking, how to program the keyboard, and the disassembly of the ROM. but it's probably the book to have if you are serious about the Oric. That one has a lot of small interesting things, including how to use the floating point functions. Like it's going to call the ROM, but you can do mathematical things. So some people have been using that for doing like ray tracing and things like that. It's not very fast, but it's faster than in BASIC. And there is explanation on how to do this half graphic, half text mode, graphic mode. And Fabrice Broche, who's one of the major Oric developers who help with Oric working on the Telestrat things. So l'Oric Owner is a massive book. Unfortunately, it's been printed with a dot matrix printer, so it's not very nice to read. And it's very dry, but it's a good reference book. And then we have the bazillion of books about program, 60 program, game on the Oric, 1 or 2 program on the Oric, Oric Atmos, your program, basic games on the Atmos, program better on the Oric One on Atmos, some program for your Oric, more program for your Oric. Yes, they are almost the same name but different. Atmos 56 programs, the Oric Handbook, toolbox for your Oric, practical guide of the Oric, another guide of the Oric. Many of these are basically rewrite of the Oric One manual, and as such are totally useless if you got the Atmos manual. Understanding Oric, Force Programming Manual. Wait, there is more. Visa pour Oric, Atmos Oric One Manuel de référence, which is another very similar technical thing with some assembler, how to access the ROM and things like that. The Oric One Companion, 30 Oric program. This Jacques Boisgontier has been very productive. The Oric One on how to get the most of it. Practical guide of the Oric Atmos, and the companion to the Oric One, which different from the Oric One companion. Go figure. So that's all for the books. Now we have to look at the magazines. So as I said, we had many magazines. So we have Micr'Oric, which is French and was basically the French port of one of the official Oric British magazines. I only have one issue here, but they are all available on the library. We have Oric Computing, the complete Oric user magazine, published by the Oric Owners user group, I believe. They are also all available. Then we have Oric Owner, incorporating the Transoft Gazette. So, a bit dry, and if I am not mistaken, yes, you can see that we had Captain Tonex and Oric. They basically just copied the comic, as is. So, some interviews, typical magazines of the time. October, November, December 84, March 84, some Oric advertisement, more issues, inside the Oric factory, the German magazines, which are not really magazines, they are issues, newsletters from the various German clubs. So apparently they had a lack of imagination at the time, because in the same year you had Atmosphäre and AtmoSphere, both published in Germany. That one I only have one issue, number 15. If anyone happens to have more issues, if it's even just the cover, that would be nice. But they are not very large, so it should be relatively fast to scan. So you can see there were some serious articles with multiple columns, very readable hardware things, articles about how to program in fourth language. So at least we know that there were some German users and they were serious about it. Oric disk monitor, page in the wrong direction. So, quite a lot of things. Then we have Bit, which is also German. Das Magazin für Oric Freunde. Magazine for the Oric friends. With how to fix your broken Oric, the good old metaphor of software design. Software test, 5 new code programs. The Universal I/O bus for the Oric. And a report of a club meeting of the Oric club. I don't remember. Listing of a rugby game, etc., etc., with test and things. Which is why Germany is third, mostly thanks to these magazines. But there is a reason why France is number 2, and when we are done, it's probably going to be number 1. It's because of this. That was a lot of dust. The Club Europe Oric. Number 75 from July and August 1996. They are just massive. A large number of issues. And yeah, it's still going on. There is a lot of it. Emulator, story of zip and zap, interfacing your Oric with your PC, article about Jonathan Bristow, welcome to the Twilight Zone, Club Oric meeting, Merry Christmas, oh, La Librairie Oric. So what do they say about La Librairie Oric? D'après Mike Debug Traction. Yeah, so basically 98 they were doing a review about the Oric Library, which we are currently seeing in a magazine on a video. More Twilight. Oh, that's my old Dungeon Master, which was reviewed in November 1996. Oh my, I believe this is me. At the February 2001 Oric meeting. And I believe this is also me. August 2001. And yeah, we have André Cherami, Jean Boileau, Jérôme, Stratos 2000, 98. You could go on the Minitel, on more Cibo Judge, first website of the Club Oric. As you can see, a lot of things. And the CEO also had some CEO software available on floppies. So that one is the Meurtre en série by Dominique, with a close, something like that. So the reason why none of these are online is because there's been the big discussions about personal identifiable information. So many of these Oric Owner, Oric User Monthly and things like that on Beat has been sanitized. Like before publishing the PDF, we made sure that the addresses and phone numbers on bank account were removed. We left things like John Smith, London, because it's relevant information. It's interesting to know who was still available. What we removed is the possibility to make it easy to find the actual address and phone number of John Smith to ask him some questions. That being said, we had some discussions recently with people who were publishing Oric User Monthly, and they said that these magazines were so old that some of the people had moved already 6 or 7 times since then, or the phone numbers now had more digits and were not relevant anymore, and landlines, most people have moved to mobile phones, so it's not really an issue anymore. Still, Club Oric is still being published, but in the recent issues, they stopped putting, recent being at least 10 years, I believe, stopped putting this information. So I really wish that we could come up with a strategy to put all these things available, because basically that's, I don't know how many years. I'm not sure when it was first published, probably around 91, 90. And we are now in 2021. That's many years and a huge amount of content on articles about how to do this and that on the Oric, hardware extensions, tests and things, which should be online, available to everybody. And the final topic is copyright. Of course, I don't have any copyright about the books being Errol's, Eddy Micro, Century Communication. The thing is that all the stuff is out of print, and if it's not scanned and put online, it's going to disappear. And it's an important part of the history. We should track all these things. So if you have any more books in Spanish, Danish, Norwegian, they are not in the library, just please contact us so we can add them. I guess that's it for today. I hope it was interesting. It's a bit dry topic of books, but yeah. At least now you can't say that no, there were not much books on the Oric.